Eagles are truly magnificent birds of prey. Since the earliest times, they have been renowned for their sheer physical size, awe-inspiring hunting techniques, and for their superb mastery of flight. To witness the courtship tangle, the dalliance of eagles, is to understand why the ancients called them the kings of the air. There's much variation between the 60 kinds of eagle. Some have impressive crests and are strikingly handsome. All have exceptional vision, strong hooked beaks and powerful talons. All are gentle and charming to watch when with their young. Each continent has its own species. Asia's huge-billed Steller's sea eagle is one of the world's largest, weighing around 20 pounds. In contrast, the aptly named little eagle of Australasia weighs in at only 20 ounces. Over many centuries, the characteristic form of these regal birds has been a source of inspiration to men. Primitive cultures believed them to be gods. In later civilizations, knights, armies, and even empires used the eagle symbol to denote courage and strength. Because of references in the Bible, gargoyles and lecterns incorporating eagles are commonplace. Today, the eagle's name is still used in trade and commerce, from inn signs to insurance companies. The symbolism of its strength and power is undimmed. The bald eagle is the national emblem of the United States, and as such was proudly carried into space. Paradoxically, few other creatures have experienced such savage persecution, and whole populations have been devastated. In the 1960s, Australian sheep farmers shot over 10,000 wedge-tailed eagles in 1 year. Ignorance and exaggeration of an eagle's powers, from taking domestic stock to taking human babies, led to unrestricted slaughter worldwide, and the killing still goes on. Endangered species are hunted in Southeast Asia. And a golden eagle dies from poisoning in the Scottish Highlands, an ignoble end for a king of the air. In the natural order of things, eagles have no regular enemies other than man. This is Alaska, North America, where around 4,000 bald eagles assemble each November. Bald eagle is a misnomer. With distinctive white plumage on its head, the bird merely looks bald when seen from a distance. The temperature is 30 degrees below zero. The days are short, yet the largest congregation of eagles in the world is here, drawn together by an annual natural phenomenon. This is the magnet that attracts them. 2 million salmon struggling upriver from the Pacific to spawn and die in this, the Chilkat River, a glut of easy prey for the hungry bald eagles. In the past, it was thought that the birds took the salmon before they had spawned. So, for over 4 decades, America's national bird, the symbol of security and freedom, had a price on its head. A bounty was paid for each bird killed. Over 100,000 died before man's persecution ceased in 1952. In fact, bald eagles have always ignored the strong, unspawned fish and prefer the easy prey, the dying and dead salmon. Other birds, like this young glaucous-winged gull, also come to harvest the salmon. Cashing in on this abundant supply of winter food helps these eagles through the severe northern winter. Taking carrion expends little energy. Stealing it takes even less. This bird is a juvenile. The common magpie, another Alaskan resident, gives some indication of the eagle's size. Away from the many fish-eaters, the concept of a lone eagle eking out an existence in a remote, hostile place is no flight of fancy. This is golden eagle territory. It could be North America, Asia, or Europe. In winter white, the mountain creatures that are the eagle's prey are near invisible, making it safer for them when they seek food. The ptarmigan survives by searching out shoots and leaves from under the snow. Mountain hares begin to breed from February onwards. These are courting. On its large, broad wings, the great golden eagle patrols its domain. At play, over rocks with less snow, the hares are more vulnerable. If seen, there will be little chance of escape. But the hares have speed on their side, and there are two of them. There were two. Most prey animals are taken on the ground. Death from powerful talons is quick. Eagles must kill to live, and in so doing improve the vitality of their prey species, weeding out usually the less fit creatures. To stay all year in this beautiful but harsh environment, wildlife has to be hardy to survive. A large eagle can fast for days if need be. Snowstorms and blizzards make hunting more difficult. In the worst weather, a deer or sheep could succumb to the cold. Carrion may account for nearly half of the eagle's diet during the winter months. The breeding season for the golden eagle has started. The pair have refurbished the ancient eyrie, and the female is already sitting on eggs. She will sit tight through wind, snow, and rain. In these stark surroundings, the survival of the young is by no means certain. But there are other northern eagles not adapted to overwinter in such cold conditions. For them, the innate pull of migration is strong. This is Israel in autumn, a place to witness one of nature's great spectacles, the migration of eagles. In these trees, eagles from Eastern Europe and Russia have rested overnight. They wait for the sun to heat the earth and the energy-saving thermals to rise. The eagles circle, keeping within the column of ascending air. Using the hot updrafts, they slowly gain height. On their huge wings, they rise to the top of one thermal and glide down and across to the bottom of the next. In this way, they travel from country to country, from one continent to another. eagles are seen in large numbers along this land corridor between continents. As many as 200,000 of several different kinds will pass over Israel in 4 days. Of all the remarkable abilities of birds, none has caused more wonder than the soaring of eagles on their ancient migration routes. It was witnessed by Aristotle and Job. Soaring looks effortless. Indeed, keeping the wings outstretched requires only the minimum of energy. So the steppe and spotted eagles escape Europe's winter and travel towards the promise of warmth and food in Africa. Here, on the open plains that cover much of the continent, the huge herds of herbivores roam and are preyed upon by the great cats and wild dogs. Here, too, there are more kinds of eagle than on any other continent. Two months ago, this steppe eagle was in Russia. It will not return there till the northern spring. The more colourful bateleur is an all-year African resident. Quietly dozing on its roosting tree, it will take to the air when the thermals rise. This immature martial eagle also waits to ride the thermals. But the resident tawny is waiting to scavenge. A pack of wild dogs has brought down a wildebeest. The innards and much of the meat have quickly disappeared. The kill has attracted a great deal of attention, and the tawnies are starting a scavenger's queue. A silverback jackal slips in to wait his chance. There's not a lot to wait for. This hyena will need reinforcements if it intends to challenge the dogs for the carcass. A hungry tawny has waited long enough and sneaks in to try and take a scrap or two. Having had their fill, the dogs start to move away, scattering the gathering hyenas. At once, a lappet-faced vulture swoops down for some small pickings. It's joined by a white-headed vulture, who also pushes in ahead of the queue. The two tawnies, squabbling over scraps of flesh, were the first feathered scavengers at the kill, but the vultures now take precedence. The queue lengthens as the hyenas take over the carcass. The dogs are loath to leave anything for the hyenas, but nevertheless they move off. When it comes to bone disposal, these are the experts. With their strong jaws and teeth, they can crunch even the largest bones. Scarcely a splinter will be left for the feathered scavengers, still waiting in order of rank. Hyenas rarely take over a carcass without getting a bite or two from the dogs on the rump. All are not equal at this feast, and a subordinate must scavenge furtively. For a moment, the tawnies have their own picnic, as bits of carcass get spread around and pulled apart by lappet-faced vultures. But not for long. Lappets are top of the pecking order. Africa's largest vultures, they have bare heads and necks. Feathers would become matted by carrion blood. As more carcass spotters arrive, the jackal must be wondering if it's ever going to get a look in. The vultures eat in their predetermined order, but the tawny gleans what it can. It's a matter of skin and bone. And now there's a latecomer to the kill, the marabou stork. With its great bill, it delicately picks up the last few morsels, and who would dare to challenge it? Another lappet arrives to drag off the hide, lying like a limp rag on the ground. Still lurking on the fringe, the solitary jackal looks on, as the hide and the last shreds are fought over. Minute morsels are still being gathered in this meticulous savannah clean-up. A tawny has seized the hide and boldly carries it off for an exclusive meal elsewhere. Such is the efficiency of the scavengers that less than 2 hours after the kill, only a bloodstain remains to mark where the wildebeest lay. The other evidence is in the full crops of the scavengers. The bateleur usually avoids attending a crowded carcass. This one is entirely engrossed in making itself airworthy. After its scavenging scuffles, a tawny smooths out its ruffled feathers. All around, on their overnight perches, eagles are still waiting for takeoff time. This is a brown snake eagle. The impressive Marshall is the largest of Africa's eagles. When airborne, its wingspan measures 8 feet. On a rising thermal, a steppe eagle circles overhead and stimulates an eagle ascension. Eagles hunt at different altitudes, in different ways. Some spiral to great heights, beyond the range of human vision, to slowly scan the ground. Meanwhile, that most familiar of African eagles, the amazing bateleur, hunts at high speed at lower levels, taking small prey not visible to the high flyers. It can tilt its long wings in flight to soar on the slightest breeze, and its short tail provides good lift and low drag. Its canting flight movements have been likened to those of a tightrope walker, hence the French name bateleur. Incredibly, bateleurs can travel 300 miles each day, quartering their home range. African tribes believe they never came to ground. In the open grasslands, there's an abundance of snakes and lizards for the specialist eagles, but few natural high perches to hunt from. The brown snake eagle solves the problem by hanging in the air in the manner of a kestrel. It scans the ground intently and is able to detect the slightest movement. If no prey is visible, it moves on from one aerial perch to another. The hover hunter supreme is the black-breasted snake eagle. It hunts from considerable height, often as much as 1,000 feet up. And it's able to detect snakes on the ground where the human eye would only just make out the backs of zebras. When a victim is spotted, the eagle plummets down to make the kill. Its 3-month-old chick is taking its jump flight exercises and is near to fledging. Black-breasted snake eagles take both venomous and non-venomous snakes. Having mangled the head, the snake is passed from foot to bill in flight and then swallowed, except for the tail. This the eaglet grasps to pull the snake from its parent's crop. It will swallow it whole, head first. With prey in crop, the female waits her turn at the nest. It will take several minutes for the chick to completely swallow the snake. All but the scaly skin will be digested. Along the tree-lined watercourses where the giant herbivores roam, the splendid Masai mouser is found. The Umbere tribe dubbed it the warrior. To them, it resembles a human warrior in ostrich plume headdress. Its more mundane title is long-crested eagle. Specializing in mice and rats, it hunts from a favorite perch and seldom travels far to make a catch. Its success rate is about 1 in 4. That was just an exploratory sortie. A conspicuous bird, it's now a common sight on telegraph poles in cultivated areas where man's activities support large numbers of rodents. Unusually for an eagle, it doesn't need to tear flesh with its beak. Having a large gape, it swallows its victims whole. Out on the open plains, wild dog pups snooze in the sun and await the return of the adults from a kill. It will be several months before they're ready to join in the hunt. The adults may have journeyed as much as 10 miles. The sight of the pack stimulates the pup's digestive juices. Fully gorged on wildebeest, the pack use their stomachs as carrying bags, a safe and effective means of transporting meat. All the tails go up in greeting, and the pup's yelping stimulates the adults to regurgitate. Amazingly, enough food is brought for all to get a share. Even here, there are opportunists. Eagles are always on the lookout for a few leftovers. But they get short shrift from the adult dogs, jealously guarding every scrap. Once fed, the pups stalk over to investigate. But the tawny knows all the moves, and there's little risk from the dogs. It will not go far while there are scraps left in the grass. Such persistence has helped to make it the commonest eagle species in the world. Like most dogs, these are everlastingly curious. It's all good practice, all part of growing up and learning about their environment. What a spoil-sport he is, sitting up there. As the pups find a new plaything, the eagle's waiting game pays off. After a storm, the hovering and soaring hunters are grounded for a while, until the thermals rise again. These are the snake-catching short toes and scaly legs of the black-breasted snake eagle. And this is the mighty martial eagle. While these spectacular hunters fast and wait, the effect of rain across the land brings green shoots for the herbivores and new feeding opportunities for other migrant and resident birds. This red mound is normally impregnable. Few creatures can penetrate its iron-hard crust, but now the defences are down as the termites respond to the rain and emerge to swarm. They're ready to reproduce and fly off to mate and find new nest sites. A bird like the rock thrush finds this temporary flush of food easy prey. As the weather clears, a steppe eagle arrives to exploit the termites. And, as always, a sharp-eyed tawny is first on the scene. Whilst in Africa, the steppe eagle leads a nomadic existence, and for part of the time follows the rain over a wide area, specializing in termite taking. It too is a successful opportunist. The food value of termites is high, and for this young steppe, a couple of thousand a day would be a good cropful. Lake Naivasha, Kenya. Africa is a land of contrasting habitats, and the Great Lakes harbour an eagle whose call typifies the African wilderness. The fish eagle. At first light, members of this African species fly from roosts around the lake to spend all day on fishing posts where territorial rights are declared. Pelicans and grebes come under scrutiny as the fish eagle gazes out at the water for hours on end. It makes a living not only by catching fish, but also by robbing others of their catch. Many pairs are perched around the lake. The larger female is on the right. Pelicans prey only on fish, and there are plenty of bass, catfish and tilapia here for them to scoop up. From its perch, the fish eagle can detect a fish several hundred yards away as it rises to the surface. Its spectacular aerial hunting manoeuvres occasionally disturb other water birds. On average, only a few minutes of its day are spent fishing. Occasionally, the fish eagle will take grebes or young cormorants, but it can't lift prey much over 4.5 pounds. A strike is not always successful. After a fishing foray, an eagle lazes lethargically on its perch, watching the lake, preening or basking in the hot sun, often spread-eagled. Cormorants adopt this posture for drying out after diving. The pied kingfisher is looking for a small fish. After a day of doing little, the sight of other avian fishers getting a bite or two is enough to turn the fish eagle into a winged pirate. Another eagle joins in the raid. Swooping and harassing so panics a pelican it will disgorge a recently swallowed fish. And the thief turns to collect the spoil. The fish eagle, a master of daylight robbery. Beyond the hills and mountains of the east, over 3,000 miles away, lies the west coast of Africa. In humid riverine forest of mangroves and palm trees, an even more unusual eagle is found. It shares its habitat with other shy residents. A Senegal firefinch, a blue-billed mamakin, a red-cheeked cordon bleu, and a large monitor lizard. This unique eagle, with its bare face, long neck and small head, is so unlike other eagles in appearance and habits, it's puzzled naturalists for years. The monitor lizard comes to the pool to drink. But the eagle comes to drink and bathe. It's washing away sticky sap from feet and feathers. This strange species is only found where the Elias or raffia palm trees grow. It hunts for its food high up amongst the fronds. The huge hook-beaked bird is a vegetarian, the palm nut eagle. Although it doesn't eat palm nuts, it actually eats the fruit pulp covering them, and is almost entirely dependent on this food. The squirrel, confidently feeding alongside, knows it has nothing to fear from this non-prey-eating bird of prey. The eagle's bare face allows it to dig deeper for juicier red fruit down at the base of the fronds. Perhaps long ago its fish-eating ancestors idly picked at and acquired a taste for fallen oil palm nuts. Then, moving further inland, came to depend on them. Eagles have evolved for the many habitats the earth affords, and away from Africa, rather special eagles are found in the rainforests of South America. Rainforests contain a greater variety of life than any other habitat on Earth. Birds, such as tropical doves, need move only a short distance for food because without seasonal constraints, fruits and seeds ripen throughout the year in the consistently damp, warm climate. Spectacular birds, like the toucan, live high in the canopy. There's a wealth of species in countless hiding places in this shadowy world. The vast forest still holds many secrets, plants not yet named by man, and creatures with little known life histories. One such inhabitant is the elusive, ornate hawk eagle, a beautiful and rare sight. With its piercing orange eye, it watches for a victim, perhaps a parrot or a macaw. There's still much to learn about this elegantly crested bird. Its breeding habits remain a mystery. The top story is the domain of the most powerful bird on Earth. When it hunts, monkeys plummet from trees in panic. It's the harpy eagle. It's nesting in the fork of a giant silk cotton tree, nearly twice the height of Westminster Abbey. Only one chick is raised. This one is 3 months old. Hanging upside down with wings outstretched, the male plucks green sprigs. These are placed in the nest before incubation and when the chick is half grown. The short, broad wings of the harpy give it great maneuverability and speed among trees. Its feet are awesome weapons. The large claws stab deeply into the flesh of a monkey, making it easier to pull such a victim from a tree. The female shares the meal. The branch below this magnificent hunter is 3 feet thick. Harpies may live for as long as 40 years. Their eaglets remain dependent for a year and take 7 years to become sexually mature. The adults only breed every other year. Even if only half their chicks survived, they would more than maintain their numbers. But with rainforests under threat, the harpy's future is now uncertain. Time is also running out for a close relative of the harpy that lives in Southeast Asia. Less than 300 birds remain. The spectacular Philippine eagle has been described as the air's noblest flyer. Here it is in slow motion. It's found only in the mountain jungles of 4 islands in the Philippine archipelago. Also in slow motion, an eaglet exercises in preparation for its first flight. The colugo, a primitive gliding mammal, is the favorite prey of the Philippine eagle. Hungry chick awaits. With its prey in its talons, the eagle flies on with barely a pause in its glide. Once called the monkey-eating eagle, the new name reflects the Filipinos' national pride in their wildlife. Yet eaglets are still stolen and adults hunted. Not enough eaglets grow up to keep pace with adult deaths. Deforestation is destroying both food and habitat. Half the world's rainforests have already gone, and destruction continues at an alarming rate. Logging produces timber for the affluent, developed countries, and burning makes way for cattle ranching. And gone with the logging, the rare and little-known forest eagles, unique creatures destroyed even before their lives have been properly studied. Conversely, it's the open land in Scotland, the hunting ground of the golden eagle, that is under threat. Vast stretches of isolated moorland are being systematically ripped open to make way for Sitka spruce trees. Sheep walks disappear. That means no carrion for the eagles to take in winter. In the southwest highlands, extensive conifer planting has transformed more than 1/3 of eagle habitat. As the plantations grow, its prey of open country, the grouse and hare, go too. With no prey, an eagle dies. With fewer prey and smaller territories, eagle numbers decline. Since afforestation, the population of golden eagles has declined by 30% in the southwest highlands, yet this has not stopped eagle persecution. Some attitudes have not changed. A minority of gamekeepers, farmers and shepherds continue to poison illegally these splendid birds. The inborn behaviour of eagle chicks is often the major cause of death in the nest. One chick is 2 days older than the other. It's stronger and heavier than its nestmate and pecks and savagely attacks the younger in an attempt to kill it. Younger chicks usually die. Called the Cain and Abel battle, it's a drama played out in the nests of many eagle species all over the world. The parent bird, bringing in a plucked ptarmigan, ignores the fighting. Some scientists regard the Cain and Abel conflict as nature's attempt to match brood size to that year's food supply. However, a parent bird will always feed the stronger, pushier chick and may neglect the weaker one, which then dies of starvation. If it survives the first 2 weeks, it may live to fledge, but few do. A male golden eagle needs to command a territory of 30 square miles to support a mate and young. The firstborn has pushed to the front of the nest. Its wide gape and strong pecking ensure that it's fed every time. This aggressive, competitive trait makes it fitter and heavier at fledging, enhancing its chances of survival to adulthood. In countries where eagles are endangered, conservationists are embarking on projects to try and raise both chicks. When brooding the chicks, this enormous, powerful, noble bird carefully curls her deadly talons so as not to hurt either chick.
We took eggs at that one, and then one.
Researchers in North America are involved in a program aimed at increasing the numbers of bald eagles and of reintroducing them into states where they have been exterminated. A striking example of the changing attitude to America's national bird. After an aerial survey of the Florida breeding grounds, the team is all set to remove eggs from a selected number of nests. To reach nests in pine and cypress trees 100 feet up requires real climbing skill. Nests may be 7 feet across with considerable overhang. This is just the first stage of a meticulously planned operation. The mask and rubber gloves prevent contamination of the eggs from the throat and hands of the collector. From nest to ground, the eggs travel in a protective insulated container. They'll be incubated 1,000 miles away in Oklahoma. The breeding pairs whose eggs are taken will relay, and the young will fledge only a little later than the young of eagles not subjected to this treatment. So the program doesn't affect the population of eagles in these successful breeding grounds.
All right, eggs coming down, Alan. Okay.
Once on the ground, the eggs are placed in a portable incubator, which is held on a researcher's lap for the 36-hour journey to Oklahoma, the eggs being turned every 3 hours. Opera Research Centre, specially bred broody hens act as natural incubators. The eggs are carefully transferred to the nesting box. The towel over the eggs retains the heat when the hen is off the nest. When they hatch, the eaglets are given a special diet of meat and fish, fed to them by an eagle-headed puppet. The operator looks through a one-way mirror. This prevents the eaglets becoming imprinted on human beings and tamed. By now, the parent eagles back in Florida have unwittingly produced a second brood. Because of the eaglet's inborn instinct to fight another chick, they're reared in separate nest bowls. When they are weighed or measured, the handler wears camouflage to prevent imprinting on the human form. At 8 weeks, weighing 11 pounds, they're nearly ready to be taken to open-air enclosures in protected areas. When accustomed to their surroundings, they will be released but will be fed daily until they've learned to forage. A triumph for conservation. In Spain, where destruction of habitat and persecution have almost exterminated the Spanish imperial eagle, research work disclosed that young eagles were electrocuting themselves on pylons. Now redesigned, these make excellent perches, just the place for ejecting indigestible food. Another project concerns fostering. The eaglet on the left was the younger chick of another breeding pair. Removed and raised in captivity, it was then placed in this nest and accepted by these foster parents, whose egg was infertile. Had this eaglet not been removed, the older chick would probably have killed it. Fostered eaglets are weighed and measured and fitted with radio transmitters to monitor their survival after they leave the nest.
Pico cera, 42 con 3.
They're well protected in the Cota Doñana breeding grounds, but the juveniles' wintering quarters are, unfortunately, outside this national park, in parts of Spain where the hunting pressures are greatest. Breeding projects to increase numbers, whether it's the Spanish imperial eagle or the American bald eagle, are dependent on there being a suitable habitat available, unthreatened by man. These cliffs in Scotland were once the domain of the white-tailed sea eagle. Persecuted by gamekeepers, egg thieves and trophy hunters, the population of British sea eagles was exterminated by 1918. This old faded photograph, taken in 1912, shows the last surviving eagle, an albino, before it was shot 6 years later. In the mid-70s, a 10-year programme to reintroduce sea eagles from Norway into Scotland was set up by the Nature Conservancy Council. The juvenile eagles have to be acclimatised before their release. The coasts of Scotland, the species' old habitat, have plentiful food and many nesting sites. Over the years, a total of 82 birds have been released. As eagles take 7 years to mature sexually, the process of re-establishment is long. Wardens monitor their progress. It seems a miracle that Scottish-born sea eagles are flying once more off these remote coasts. And it's encouraging that in secret locations, on cliffs or trees, these fine birds of prey are breeding successfully. The threat from poisoned carcasses and egg collectors is, however, always present. The Royal Society for the Protection of Birds keeps guard over the nest sites, and that, combined with controlled viewing by the public, is helping to protect birds of prey. Viewing birds of prey not only educates, but also engenders a lasting interest and pride in nature and conservation. In addition, it brings in considerable revenue from visitors. The white-tailed sea eagle's cousin, the bald eagle, has already become a sizable tourist attraction. Extinct in many states, America's national bird could have died out, living on only as a symbol. But past mistakes are being corrected. The long-lived poisons that entered the soil and the food chain, harming the bird's breeding behavior, have now been outlawed. A healthy eagle population is an indicator of a healthier environment. The wanton shootings that took place in this valley, where 100,000 bounties were claimed, are now illegal. Now man shoots only with cameras. The more people that see and enjoy the sight of an eagle in its natural terrain, the more it will be appreciated. But elsewhere, the human habit of conquest and destruction for profit still threatens other eagles. Past cultures believed both the eagle and its tree to be sacred. Such attitudes produced a harmony between people and the natural world. To destroy wilderness is to rock the foundations of our planet. But a new spirit is abroad. Now, once more, many people, even governments, understand that in wilderness is the preservation of the world. A king of the air, like other creatures, is dependent on man for the preservation of its home. The eagle's future is in our hands.